where civility is always in style. And we've got a fantastic guest, Janice Pearson from the San Joaquin Valley College of Law, and we're going to hear from her in just a minute. I want to remind you folks, KXEX 1550 AM, Saturdays at 4, Sundays at 6. You can catch Powell to the People. We talk politics, education, religion, technology, sports, values, and healthy communities, and just about anything you want to talk about. Good News with Larry Powell is also heard 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. and at 4 p.m. You want to hear a good news story, you come to Good News with Larry Powell. It's on Spotify as well, Facebook and YouTube. You name it, you got it. We'll find a way to get you to listen at your convenience, not at ours. And that's one of the unique things about it. KXEX is a great place to listen. I encourage you, let people know about it. Also, when you're on Facebook, just hit that share button, and a lot of good things can happen. I did want to talk just real quickly before we interview Janice. What a crazy week we've had because of the shooting in Tennessee, and how crazy it is. 3 9-year-olds got shot, 3 adults, 60, 61, 61. Unbelievable. A Christian school just doesn't make a lot of sense what's going on, and we're just praying for everybody there. Just a tough thing for families to go through. But we've got a really good show today because Janice is from the San Joaquin College of Law. Janice, welcome to KXEX and Powell to the People.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, you know what? You and I got a chance to chat a little bit the other day at Leadership Fresno. And Leadership Fresno, folks, in case you're not sure, is a product of the Chamber of Commerce and has been going on, boy, I think it's been 35, 40 years, something like that.
I don't know exactly, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, and if you're a leader in town or would like to be a leader in town, you can apply to be a part of that. And you get some of the best people in the world come and talk to you. And Janice and I'm going to include us in that. We got a chance to go talk to this particular class, and they're up and coming leaders. They're doing some great things, and it was really fun getting a chance to chat a little bit. But the College of Law, we want to talk about that because that's part of the reason you're here. But where did you grow up, Janice? What's your hometown?
I am from Richmond, California.
Richmond. Okay, so you're a California gal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm a Sanger kid, so, the community area here is ours. Tell me, what was Richmond like in those days for you?
Well, I was pretty naive, so I'm not sure I can answer that question.
Okay.
It was a very diverse town.
Yes.
And very much based in some local industry there coming out of World War II still.
Okay.
Some shipping industry.
Yeah.
So it was a relatively poor area.
Sure.
I was a sole child in a lower middle class family.
Sounds very much like me. I'm from Calwa.
So
yeah.
From the outset, my parents emphasized education.
Sure.
So they
Your ticket.
Right. They saw that as the ticket to success.
Yeah.
In the future.
Yeah. Well, where did you go to high school? Richmond High?
No, that was our sworn enemy.
Oh.
That doesn't even exist, I don't think, anymore. Not as a high school. It was called Harry L's.
Okay.
I think it might now be an intermediate school or a junior high school.
Okay. Yeah. Everything shifts.
So that was not long after I graduated. They moved it to high school. And the new high school had a different name.
Wow. So Richmond was a challenge for you.
Well,
in schools.
I didn't know it was a challenge.
Okay.
I just, my job was to go to school, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, so it was no problem for me.
That's good. Do you remember your favorite teacher?
Oh, I'd probably have to say my 10th or 11th grade English teacher that was actually a speech class.
Oh, cool.
And a debate class.
Yeah.
That's David Dansky.
David Dansky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's cool because being in law, obviously speech, writing, English, all those things, such critical skills that you have to have, so you were getting preparation even. Did you know you wanted to be in the law area in those days?
No, I didn't know that for certain. My mother wanted me to be an actuary.
Oh, okay.
sounded extremely boring.
Yeah.
But I also did very well in the sciences. So when I went on to college, I thought I was going to be a chemist.
Oh,
And
cool.
took 2 years of chemistry and math
Yeah.
and physics, and then couldn't make the experiments to work in the lab. So I decided I better move on to something
Let's
else.
check something else out. Yeah. So where did you go to college?
I went to college at UC Berkeley.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah. So that was the premier school in California, with Stanford as one of the battlegrounds, during those days. But they have produced out of Berkeley so many amazing people, to in law and almost every kind of area that you can imagine. So did you go to Berkeley Law, or was there Bolt, or where did you go?
Well, it was then called Bolt, but now
Okay.
it's called Berkeley Law.
And so
Yes.
now it is Berkeley Law. Okay,
Yes.
so I knew they had changed it from Bolt, but yeah. But it was very well known. It was a highly sought after school, and tough to get in.
Right.
Yeah.
I was lucky to get it.
Well, you had to work like crazy, as all of us do when we have those kinds of challenges, to be able to make it through. What was the city of Berkeley like in those days?
Very active.
Yeah.
I mean, you could. I was a very strange Berkeley student in that I never used any kind of illegal drugs, and so
That's cool.
I was exposed to things, and
Yeah.
I would just pass them along.
I hear you.
So there was a culture, all different kinds of cultures.
Yeah.
Not just that kind of sort of underground culture, but all different kinds of cultures.
Yes.
Which is very educational.
Isn't that something? Yeah, it's interesting. Juan Arambula, who is a former assembly member here for us in the area, went to Berkeley. He also got a degree from Stanford and a degree from Harvard. So he did all three of the big three, and stuff. But we have a number of folks who have graduated from Berkeley. I have a number of friends. I have basically my uncle played football for Berkeley. His name was Bill Powell. He held the record for the longest touchdown run, 103 yards. Yeah, isn't that something? He got it on the kickoff return and made it all the way back. He was drafted by the New York Giants to play football, and he was Willie Powell, and he was from Sanger High School. So, and then went up to Berkeley. So I have a connection with Berkeley that I feel really good about, so that was really cool. Okay, so after college, what did you do after college?
After college or after law school?
After law school, yeah.
Well, I had wanted to work in legal aid, and at that period of time, everyone in the world wanted to work in legal aid.
Okay.
But I actually had a connection in Fresno who invited me to apply and encouraged the legal aid office here in Fresno to hire me, which they did. But I've always, in any environment, been a teacher.
Yeah, I love it.
So very shortly, they were looking for someone at the law school to teach consumer protection law.
Wow.
So I taught that. And then I think that was a summer session, and I have a wonderful little plaque given by my first year class that is the royal screw for consumers being screwed over.
Oh, I love it.
The next summer, I taught another class, and then in that fall, the individual who was supposed to teach torts had to withdraw shortly before school started.
Okay.
So I started teaching torts there.
And so what year was that?
That would have been around 1984.
84. Okay. Wow. Well, the law school came into being in 1970 or so. And during their first year, obviously before accreditation, you were wanting everybody to pass the bar exam. So that helps toward accreditation. And the College of Law had a great reputation. If you went to the College of Law, San Joaquin Valley College of Law, you were going to pass the bar. The pass rate was phenomenal.
In part because they had very good people teaching.
Yeah.
There was pent up demand amongst very capable people in the community.
Because we didn't have a place around here to go.
Nothing. And so they also were very tough on people going through the program. And so they ended up that they pretty much all could pass the bar. I don't think it was ever 100%, but it came very close.
Well, and I remember a number of my colleagues have gone there over the years. And I remember them talking about how hard it was. And my brother-in-law, Bill Brewer, who was an attorney here in town, was one of the first graduating classes of the College of Law. And he worked and studied and studied and studied. We could never do anything because he was, and you know that experience, and what it's like. Folks, you're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. And my special guest today is Janice Pearson from the San Joaquin Valley College of Law. We're going to hear more about that. And I think, folks, you're going to be really interested. If you've got some grandkids in high school and college and they're thinking about the law, you're going to hear some things that this may be the law school you want to look at. And especially, we love our folks to stay in town and stick around. And if you go to school here, you got a better chance of doing that. Keep listening to us. And if you're listening on Facebook or one of the other streaming services, be sure and hit that share button. We're going to be right back. Stick with us.
If you're in a low, if you're getting sick, if you're feeling well, if you're getting up, if you just fell, God's love and faithfulness will always be the same. Some things never change.
This is Powell to the People on the best talk in town.
Hey, welcome back to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We're so glad that you're with us today. And I have a very special guest, Janice Pearson, from the San Joaquin Valley College of Law. And, we are really so fortunate to have such an esteemed institution right here in town. Kids don't have to go and spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on housing and on food and transportation away from home and those kinds of things. So we got started in 1970. It's been going, like you said, 50 some years now. That's pretty amazing, and doing very well. Tell us a little bit of how do you get into the school to begin with?
Well, a couple of little pieces of information. First, the school actually was founded in 1969, but the first entering class was 1970.
Okay.
Graduated in 1974. The college is different because it has a fairly liberal admission policy, but then you have to prove that you can handle the work.
I love that.
We do not want to exploit people by having them pay tuition year after year if there isn't a reasonable prospect of them passing the bar and being successful in practice.
So you counsel them a little bit.
Oh, we try.
Yeah.
We try to inform people of the kind of thing that you just mentioned, that there's a tremendous amount of work involved.
Oh, it's amazing.
They don't always believe us, so it comes as a shock.
Yeah.
Yes,
there's
a tremendous amount of material you need to learn. Now, I understand that the bar's exam is going to change, but it's not going to change for several years.
Or easier?
It will be different.
Okay.
I actually think in some ways it will be harder.
Wow.
Because it will put much more emphasis on writing.
Okay. Which a lot of our students coming now have not really experienced good writing skills or developed those. I imagine you have seen over the years a decline in writing skills, because I have in K-12 education, as they get to be seniors and things, it is so hard for them to articulate in a very special way so that they're not just repeating themselves over and over, or, putting superfluous words in that don't mean anything. We see that so much. And oftentimes people like to write like they speak, and it's not the same.
Well, you've just defined all the problems. And it comes from a couple of sources. Primarily, well, I won't say primarily, but one major player is the availability of social media. The way people speak, quote unquote, on social media, plus the fact that it deflects people away from other forms of entertainment, like reading. And if people don't read, then they don't internalize the structure of language, and then they have trouble writing.
Yeah. And if you can't write, it's hard to be an attorney, because when I look at for example, I've had to sue somebody in the past. They were, in a house that we rented to them, and they didn't pay for a number of months, and it happened to be a time we couldn't get them out easily, and they ended up owing $90-some thousand, and stuff. But the paperwork it took for my attorney to be able to just codify everything that needed to be put down was amazing. I mean, uh, I'm reading a lot of this, and I'm pretty smart, and things, but it was hard to understand how many nuances exist in the law, and you're constantly having to make sure you dot every I, cross every T, because if you miss something, it may not be accepted in court.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
That's why lawyers require as much training as they do.
Yeah. Well, what specialty were you most interested in when you were, first starting out?
Well, in working in legal aid, it's something like what's called door law. It's whatever walks in the door.
Oh, I love that term, door law.
You have to become a specialist in that area very quickly.
Yeah.
But I ended up with my principal involvement being in consumer law.
Okay.
And a lot of used car sales, that sort of thing.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, we have the joke about used car dealers. Be careful what you buy, because you never know what it's really like.
For a used car,
yeah,
that's particular.
Yeah. Did you work with folks that were on the low side of money?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Legal aid only represents low income people.
Yeah, and they need so much protection because they get caught in things, and I look at some of the things that come to my iPhone now, which is a great opportunity for me to buy such and such, and it's not even close, and they're just fooling you. And so you got folks that come through the door and they need help.
Right.
So give me a typical case that you might have dealt with.
Oh, just a car with a lot of defects. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I've put that out of my mind long since. Okay. Right now, I'm largely keeping all the different aspects of the law school running.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, how many students are in the law school?
About 140.
140. Boy, that bodes well for us here in town, because
it's not filling the need.
Isn't that something?
No.
Yeah, and you had mentioned the other day when we were, in that program together. Tell us a little more about what some of the needs are with law right now.
Oh, I would say across every kind of law. Just so far this week, I think we've posted 5 full-time jobs for attorneys.
Wow.
There's a particular problem in the district attorney's offices locally and in the public defender's offices.
Sure.
They each have a significant number of vacancies, and that means the cases can't be processed as quickly and efficiently.
So timely,
they can't
factors.
be timely, but it causes the system to grind down, to slow down.
Yeah.
Which is not good for anyone.
Not at all. And obviously, if you hear about law, a lot of people see on television the lawyers that make a fortune, and that's not what most law is. They make good money, but a lot of folks help people out who cannot afford. They do a lot of pro bono work. I know that that's one of the things that you see a lot of. My brother-in-law, Bill, does a lot of pro bono work. So what's it like for someone who is a prospective attorney going into the law now? I know I was thinking in particular, you mentioned the district attorney's office and the public defenders. They're not on the high end of the scale.
Well, I don't know that I know exactly what their salaries are. They're not at the high end.
Yeah.
But you do get paid reasonably, and there's very rapid advancement if that's the kind of area in which you want to practice.
Right, right.
And you're doing a lot of good in one of those functions. You also get a tremendous amount of skills. It's a quick way to get trial skills and court skills.
Well, it's fun. Bill was one of the few attorneys in his office that does court himself. A lot of attorney work is outside of court. And it's arduous. I mean, you can't delay. You've got timelines you have to meet, and you don't get a chance to says, "Oh, I'll get to that tomorrow." It's like milking cows. You got to milk a cow when the cow needs milk. And the same kind of thing with law, because you can't miss deadlines and those kinds of things. So, what are you seeing in terms of interest on the part of students who are coming in? What is their thought process about what they would like to do with law? What area they're more interested in?
Well, they come into law school thinking they're going to practice in a certain area.
Yep.
But very, very often they encounter something in law school that they decide, this is more interesting to me. I'm going to start by getting a clerkship with one of these firms, or an internship, a part-time job, check it out a little bit, see if that's what I want to do permanently. And very often here locally, those internships turn into permanent jobs.
Yeah, I love it. And we have a lot of good law firms here in town that work with the College of Law and provide those opportunities for students.
Almost all of them.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? That's really a good thing. And when I was county superintendent of schools, we worked with probably 4 or 5 law firms, big ones here in town. And we've had cases go all the way to the Supreme Court, which is really fascinating. And then you've got the little nuances of special education, which is in law, one of the interesting things that I've learned over the years is there is specialization down to the nub. I mean,
yes.
And if you have someone who's a generalist, they have a place that you need to be. That's good. But so many times you're having to get someone who knows the very specifics of some little nuance in law in order to be able to get you through the issue you're going through.
Well, I love that you mentioned special education law, because one of the 2 clinics that the law school operates is in special education law. The other one is in immigration law.
Oh, that's cool.
And they help literally, and particularly the immigration clinic, because we have so many students that participate in that.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people a year.
Isn't that amazing?
Primarily in naturalizations, getting legal permanent residence.
Sure.
Naturalized. There's also T visas and U visas and asylum, deportation defense, a few cases.
Sure.
So the students get tremendous experience. The whole idea behind the clinic was first to help people, but also train attorneys to be more competent in that area.
I think that's such a good thing. And in the San Joaquin Valley, where we have a large Hispanic population and immigrants that are here who want to follow the rules, but they have to have someone help them follow the rules too. And many don't take advantage of some of the rights that they have because they don't know what those rights are. So I'm sure you do a part of that through that clinic.
Absolutely.
I want to talk a little more about that when we get back. You're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. You can catch us Saturdays at 4, Sundays at 6. We talk all kinds of things here, and today we're talking about the San Joaquin Valley College of Law with Janice Pearson, and what an opportunity to learn a little bit about what our own law school is like, and it's a great place to be. We'll be right back. Stick with us.
You're listening to Powell to the People. Write it down.
If you're in a low, if you're getting sick, if you're feeling well, if you're getting hungry, you got spell. God's love and faithfulness will always be the same. Some things never change.
This is Powell to the People on the best talk in town.
Hey, welcome back to Powell to the People. And by the way, I need to correct something. It's the San Joaquin College of Law, and not Valley, San Joaquin College of Law. And what a unique opportunity right here in Fresno to have a place to go so you can save on housing costs and on transportation, and you've got a lot of attorneys' firms right here in town that work with our students so that they can get practical experience right from the get-go. Tell us a little bit about the cost. What's it cost to get into the College of Law?
Well, the tuition is calculated on a per unit rate.
Okay.
And it takes 86 units to graduate. And typically it's 20 units through 2 semesters, the fall semester and the spring semester, and then you get the additional units either as clinical units or in summer session classes. So the 86 units plus some very minor fees, it's probably $84,000 total to get the degree.
That is amazing because, when you think of law school, you think of all of the folks coming out with huge bills, that's kind of manageable on a 2 or 3 year basis that you can actually keep up with.
Well, most of the students do get financial aid, but one of our objectives is that they not graduate with a massive amount of debt that people get when they go to major law schools.
Yeah.
When I went to Berkeley Law, it was nothing like that because it was publicly supported.
Yeah.
But now the tuition would be double
Wow.
what it is at San Joaquin.
And that's something, and you can stay home.
You can stay home. You can minimize your expenses while you're here. You have contacts that you develop that just naturally become permanent positions. And the need for your services here is so intense.
Yeah, that's cool. Tell me a little bit about the ethnic makeup of the College of Law. What's the student distribution there?
Well, I'm not sure I remember all the statistics specifically, and it varies greatly from year to year.
Okay.
But it is extremely diverse. In the last few years, Latinx students have predominated in the entering class, and so have women. Primarily,
that's fantastic.
Well, it's because men aren't going to college,
Isn't that
and so they won't. Well, they're being encouraged to go into the trades, which of course we also need.
Sure.
But some of those people have the ability to take on the professional opportunities that this valley in particular needs. You may have seen there was an article on the front page of the Bee yesterday exactly about that. Something we had just been discussing internally, that there is such a tremendous need for doctors as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a California Health Science Academy, a university here in town as well. So we're very blessed to have that. It's really cool. Tell me a little bit about the faculty. I know you've got you started off with major names in the faculty folks when the School of Law, College of Law first got started. Tell us who's there now. What are some of the folks? What firms do they come from? That kind of thing.
Well, in order to have regional accreditation so that students are eligible for financial aid, we continue to rely heavily on adjuncts teaching a lot of classes, but we also have a core of full-time faculty, so they're not really affiliated with any firm. They're affiliated with
just the school.
Law school.
Okay.
But part of the reason the cost of going to law school there is so modest is because local members of the bar support the school by teaching there.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Well, it's always been dependent upon that. And that has not changed. But the really fortunate part of that is they bring the practical experience of actually having practiced in these fields.
And what it's like in our area and the kinds of law that they typically end up dealing with. So that's really cool. Tell me a little bit about, some of the places that they go. Are there big firms in town that hire a lot? I know you can do your own private practice, but that's a lot of work to set up a private practice. It seems to me it'd be a lot easier to go into a firm that's established, getting experience, and if you did some internships or something, I'm assuming a lot of those internships lead to full-time positions, like McCormick Barstow or those kind of things.
There are lots of firms in the Fresno area, and the graduates are not confined to Fresno. All of the southern San Joaquin Valley has San Joaquin graduates, and at this point, pretty much every firm hires San Joaquin graduates if they have a need for a particular individual, and they have the skills that they're looking for. And then at this point, most of the graduates go immediately into a firm. There are very few that jump right into their own practice just because it's too difficult to get started.
Yeah.
But we also have people that just do crazy things. Like there is a woman who is the regulatory compliance and ethics officer for the Dallas Mavericks.
Is that right?
there are people who, there's another grad who taught entrepreneurship at a school in Southern California for a long time and has a number of businesses that he started himself.
Wow.
But now he's a mentor for an entrepreneurship group in Portugal. So another grad has worked for Chevron for years and years as a vice president of human resources and was in Southeast Asia, in Africa,
Wow.
doing human resources for their companies there.
So this is your ticket to anywhere in the world in a lot of ways.
Exactly. It does not prevent you from pursuing anything you want to pursue.
Yeah. And they're not always necessarily directly connected to law, but the background you gained from the law school sets you up for human resources and public relations and any number of other areas.
More locally, our grads have been general counsel for most of the hospitals and hospital systems in the area.
Wow.
You just set your mind on what it is you want to accomplish, and you can accomplish it.
Yeah. How do people find out about the law school? What's your web address?
www.sjcl.edu. Very simple.
So you check that out, and you can they call you as well and find out more?
Absolutely. They can call me. We have individuals that speak directly with students to try to help them think through what they want to do and plan their program.
Do you do any recruiting at high schools and colleges just to give them, get a sense of, hey, this is something you could do in the future. Here's a track to get there.
Absolutely. We go to any career fair we can find or be invited to. And usually we take a couple of current students along so people can relate to the individual that they're talking to. We try very hard even to go to high schools. For example, there was a high school group visiting the law school last week, and we take them on a tour, go in and make a little presentation.
Yeah, that's cool.
In the courtroom, we do have a physical courtroom on site. So that's where a lot of our courtroom-like classes are held. But it's also just to show you what kinds of things you'll experience.
Sure. Bullard High School has a law section, that they do, and they have a courtroom there that they put together, which is fantastic. And I've been able to, as county superintendent, I got to see them producing. I'm amazed at the skills that they develop.
Right.
Because you can't, you have to know what you're doing, and you can't fake somebody out. You have to know the law. You have to know what you're wanting to say, the point you're wanting to get across, and you have to be very articulate in doing it.
Well, Bullard is part of the law pathway locally.
Okay.
Some years ago, the state bar set up pathways, but they didn't include the state accredited and regionally accredited schools like San Joaquin. So we said, to heck with that. We started our own. And Bullard is part of the pathway. The community college is part of the pathway. Fresno State is part of the pathway. And we've had students come through the entire pathway to San Joaquin College.
That is really cool. That is really cool. So if I'm a student and I'm in Fresno Unified, you might even be able to get a transfer to Bullard because of that pathway from some of the other schools. And you can start getting a taste of, is this something you would like to do? And then you can stay home to do it through San Joaquin.
We'd like people to stay home because when people go away to go to law school, they tend to get settled there.
Yep.
They meet people, they may find a spouse, and then they don't return.
They don't come back. We don't have as many boomerangers as we need, for those that go away. And we need them back because the needs here in the Valley are enormous. We have lots, and especially in immigration, and I'm glad you talked a little bit about that because as a county superintendent of schools, we dealt with a lot of immigrants, and we love having those kids. They're bright, they're articulate, they've got really great abilities, but they don't know how to make sure they get to stay. And being in a position to be able to help them is a really good thing.
We have a very significant number of our students now are first generation college students. They are the first ones in their family to have gone to college, much less than go on to law school.
Law school.
But they are in law school now.
Wow, that is really a good thing. I can't believe how fast this is 3 segments gone already. Janice, it's really fun having you here. Folks, we're going to have one more segment that we'll go through here in just a few minutes, but we're going to talk a little bit about, and I'm going to have Janice think about this, some key attorneys in town that have gone and some judges, because I know we have some judges that have graduated from San Joaquin College of Law. It is a unique place, and it's located in Clovis, and it's right near the Civic Center down there. So it's close by. It's easy to get to. You've got great faculty members, and I really encourage people to take a look at it. And if you're a high school student, we've got pathways for you. If you're a college student, we got pathways for you. And you can end up maybe defending me someday. So that's a good thing. Listen, you're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We're going to be right back. Stick with us.
You're listening to Powell to the People. Write it down.
Facebook folks, we're really glad you're with us. Stick with us. Be sure and hit that share button, because we want to make sure other folks get to hear this. This is good news with our good friend Janice Pearson from San Joaquin College of Law.
If you're in a low, if you're getting sick, if you're feeling well, if you're getting up, if you just fell, God's love and faithfulness will always be the same. Some things never change.
This is Powell to the People on the best talk in town.
Hey, we're so glad you're with us. I can't believe 3 segments are gone already. We're into our 4th segment with Janice Pearson from San Joaquin College of Law. Janice, it's so nice to have you with us today. And tell us your official title there.
Oh, it's very fancy. Dean.
Dean, I love it. So you're Dean of the College of Law.
Correct.
And how long have you been doing the Dean side?
Oh, my goodness. Since May of 1985.
85. Wow. So you got in relatively early after the school got started.
Correct.
And you've been doing it for a long time.
Correct.
You have a lot of students out there who know you.
Unfortunately true.
Well, tell me a little bit about some of the faculty, that the folks who have graduated and now gone into law. We have some named people who have gone on to the legislature. They've done other kinds of things. You mentioned a few of those. Who are some names people would recognize?
Well, the district attorneys in Fresno County have continuously been San Joaquin grads for 30 years, 35
Wow.
years. Ed Hunt,
Yeah.
Elizabeth Egan, and now Lisa Smithcamp.
I know all 3 of them.
And
great folks.
Currently the DA in Madera County, Sally Moreno, is also a San Joaquin grad.
Wow.
Some of the noteworthy personal injury, both plaintiff and defendant lawyers, are San Joaquin grads. Pabuchin.
Oh, yeah. Who is big name. Yes. In fact, he's defended quite a few celebrity folks, coaches, and other folks in town. And
Warren has handled some very significant cases. Also, there are 66 grads that are either judges, Superior Court judges,
wow,
or court commissioners, or administrative law judges. They are primarily in the local Fresno
area,
Kings
area.
But we have a judge in the Bay Area. There's been several judges actually in the Bay Area. So
wow,
down in LA, it doesn't constrain you in any
so you
way.
Can go any place from
in
here.
California without any problem whatsoever.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about administrative law judge, because I know a lot of people don't understand that role completely.
Well, the administrative law judge is basically the hearing officer that makes decisions in cases involving quote-unquote administrative law. And so much of what you deal with in your everyday life is administrative law. For example, an unemployment insurance hearing, a hearing for the denial of Social Security, or AFDC, all of those things would go before an administrative law judge in the first instance.
So what authority do they carry?
They have authority to make decisions on those cases.
Okay, so they can make a judgment about what this is, you win, you don't, kind of stuff.
And usually it's a governmental entity versus the individual.
Right.
For For example, if somebody was denied on insurance benefits,
Yes.
the administrative law judge would hear that.
We could not survive in our society without them.
They perform an incredible function, just like commissioners that are chosen by the courts.
Okay.
They're judges that are chosen by the courts rather than judges selected by the governor, for example. And they handle a lot of preliminary motions for the actual federal court judges.
Okay.
And then some cases of their own just to keep the system moving because there's so much work to be done and never enough actual appointed or elected judges.
Sure, sure. Well, we're blessed here in town too. We have the 5th District Court of Appeals right here in Fresno. Chuck Buchigian happens to be a really good friend of mine, and he's here in town. And so there are a lot of opportunities for attorneys not only to practice in the field, but to move into other areas, as you had mentioned, whether it's a general counsel or being a commissioner or administrative law judge or ultimately superior court. And tell us a little bit about state court versus, your federal courts.
Well, it's a jurisdictional matter set by decisions of courts and by the Constitution as to what court has jurisdiction over what matters. And if you want to learn about that, it's like a year-long course.
So, folks, let me tell you, you can. Do people ever get a chance to audit any classes?
They do. People can audit classes, but they tend not to stick with it because
Gotcha.
There's a lot of reading and the discussion in class is very demanding.
Yeah.
Just going back for a second, I do want to mention that the first Hmong woman Superior Court judge in California is here in Fresno and is San Joaquin grad.
Isn't that cool? I love that. That's fantastic. Well, when we think about it, there's not much that you can't do out of San Joaquin College of Law. The opportunities are enormous. The cost is significantly less than most other law schools. The level of professor and the folks who are teaching the classes are wonderful. I mean, absolutely amazing. And you use not only full-time professors, but also adjunct. So you're getting people with field experience are able to bring that right to you. Are there any folks who practice law who connect with you and have questions? And they're already out in the world. They've got their degree. They passed the bar, but they've got questions. Is the law school
Not so much because so much time is taken up just teaching the classes.
Gotcha.
And so there's not really, plus the kind of practical questions people would ask are probably not the kind of foundational things that people are going to have a problem that's very specific.
Sure.
Where the classes are teaching foundational items.
Gotcha.
The other thing I want to mention is that is also very important is that if you do the work while you're in law school, you will pass the bar.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. Do what's organized and set up and designed, and it prepares you to do that.
Well, for example, the class that graduated in 2020 has now satisfied the ABA requirement for bar passage. You have to have at least 75% of a class.
Okay.
Pass the bar within 2 years of graduating, and that class is at 80%.
Wow.
And we expect the class in 2021 to hit that requirement once the bar results from this last February exams come out in May.
That's a really good selling point for the college.
Well, as you have been saying, you can accomplish what you want to accomplish by going to law school, by doing it here locally, and then using your skills here.
Yeah. I would assume some of the professors have individual relationships with the students who are now out practicing and have graduated.
Oh.
And they might get called on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah. To, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that?
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Plus, the students are capitalizing upon the fact that when they were students, the faculty have an open door policy. So people are walking in all the time saying, I do not understand this. Can you help me walk me through this a little bit more?
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. Well, what do you think, the future of law is going to be, here in Fresno? Are we going to continue to get enough lawyers? Is it going to continue to be sparse and difficult to get enough people into law? And what are some of the things that can be done to get people to choose that path?
Well, I think we're doing a lot of things to try to get people to choose that path, including you and I having this conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest barriers are fear of what it consists of.
Yeah.
That's why you need to come and talk to somebody about what the practice of law is like, what law school is like.
Because if you just rely on television
Oh dear.
and an attorney and a court, that's not law.
No.
You know, so
If you don't want to be a public speaker, that's not an issue. Only about maybe 10% of lawyers spend a good amount of time.
Let's say that again, because I think that's really important, because a lot of people have an idea that you have to be an amazingly argumentative person, you know, and have your act together to be a lawyer, but that's not true.
No, that's not true. You can be argumentative in writing without being uncivil, as you would say.
Yes.
Most legal work is done outside of the courtroom. Now,
Wow.
if you're going to go into the criminal law field, you're going to be in the courtroom a lot.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about some of the negotiations that take place to get to a settlement. How do you learn how to do that?
It's a skill, and it's a skill that's going to be tested on the new bar exam when it comes out in about 7 years. So we're going to have to change the curriculum to give more coverage for some of those skills, and negotiation is one of them.
Yeah. You know, people don't like to negotiate. You know, we tend to want our side and want you to give in instead of a give and take. But the law is give and take in a lot of cases, especially in a suit.
Well, depends on how much you want to go and testify in court and take a chance on what the outcome of your case will be.
Yeah.
So negotiating to get what you really think is important out of the case is what happens in the vast majority of cases.
Which makes a lot of sense, you know, so you don't end up spending a fortune in court, and then you end up paying attorney's fees and maybe not getting what you wanted to begin with, when you could have done something before you got there and solved it.
And that's the attorney's job, is to help you evaluate all those aspects and help you come to a reasonable decision.
Yeah. Well, Janice, I can't believe we've gone through a full hour already. You know, it's so nice to have you here. I'm so glad you've been a part of the San Joaquin College of Law for so long. You know the ins and outs of it. Folks, give her a call. What phone number should they call?
Oh, it's just 323-2100.
323-2100. If you're interested in law, you don't have to go anyplace. You can save money. You can become an integral part of our community and a valuable part of our community. Just give Janice Pearson a call, the Dean of the College of Law at San Joaquin. And we're so glad you've been with us today. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you folks next week. Powell to the people, where civility is always in style.